Hello Stampers! I'm using this terrific tree from the Treasured Kindness stamp set for our main image in this card scene that I have for you today. I'm such a tree hugger, and this tree just makes my heart sing. And let me show you this stamp set here. It's the Treasured Kindness. This is new in the Stampin' Up! Annual catalog this year. And it is a multi-step stamp set so that you layer these stamps to make this great tree, and you don't have any coloring that you have to do, and it comes together super fast. So we're going to be using that today. And also I use this wonderful greeting here, just a note from the Go-To Greetings. I mean, look at this beautiful stamp set with this great font. I just love cursive writing in stamps, especially this fancy cursive here. And these are big, bold images, so they really stand out on your card projects. So we're going to be using these two stamp sets, and we're going to get going on our project today. I wanted this to look like misty mountains, so we have some faint mountains in the background. Lots of white left in our card scene, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to start with a basic white panel. Now you can find all the panel sizes down below this video. Just click show more under the description. You'll find them there, along with the links to all the products used that will take you directly to my online store where you can shop 24/7. So I have a basic white panel that's 3.5 by 5. And we're going to start with our sky. I'm going to use Tahitian Tide. This is a new colored from Stampin' Up. It's one of the new in colors. And we're going to make some swirls in our sky here. Now I'm not trying to make a solid sky. I like to get some ink on my brush and then take it directly to my paper. And this starts looking like clouds in the sky because you're leaving some light areas in there. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to bring it down, just a little lower than half of our panel. There we go. So that was Tahitian Tide. Now I'm going to bring in a darker color, Pacific Point, just for some added interest in the sky. So I'm going to use this right just at the top of this panel. Again, I'm making it kind of splotchy, just so we have some cloud shapes in there. Okay, let's get some of our ground in, and we're going to use Old Olive for that. I'm going to bring in another blending brush. This time I'm going to use a back and forth motion. I'm starting at the bottom of the panel, and then I'm going to work upwards because I want it darkest at the bottom. And be careful, you don't want to get rid of all that white area there. You just want to kind of blend into it just a bit because we want it to look like there's some mist down there going on. So I'm going to add some more dark olive down here at the bottom of my panel. There we go. And see how then it looks like it's fading into the mist there when you put the darkest part at the bottom. So there is that. And now we need some mountains in our scene. And I'm going to take a 3 by 5 Post-it note. This is just a regular old Post-it note. There's a sticky part here. I'm going to rip a mountain shape kind of in the middle of this Post-it note here. And you can kind of angle this, and that's what I'm going to do. You don't have to use it straight on. So you can angle it different directions to get different shapes. And I think I'm going to put my lower one in first. So let's put it pretty much over to the left side. There we go. And just want to make sure that you have the blue area filling in your mountain shape. I'm going to bring in the Tahitian Tide ink again, and we're going to kind of fill this in. There we go. And so you can lift the panel up and see your mountain shape in there. All right, and then I think I'm going to move this over some. Let's tilt it this direction just so it looks a little different than the one we just put on. And we're going to add some more to that. And this will be our top mountain. And don't come down completely to your first mountain. And that's going to make it look like there's some mist in between the two. And this is an easy little mountain thing to do. I think I'm going to get a little darker at the top with that. See, it's nice that you can peek underneath and see what you've got going on. And see, I think that's dark enough. It's showing up well. So now we have our two mountains in there, and they look like they have mist in between them. My husband and I just took a trip to the Smoky Mountains, and that inspired me to do like a misty scene, because in the morning, oh, you wake up and you look out at the mountains and there's just all this mist happening. So I assume that's why they called it the Smoky Mountains, right? Because they look like there's smoke all around, but it's just the mist. So now we're going to put our tree in. And I'm going to start with our tree trunk. Now I'm just using the detailed stamp for the tree trunk, but there is two that you can use. There's a solid one here that you can stamp, and then stamp this detailed one over it. And you could use two different colors, and that we have a multi-purpose tree trunk. I'm just using the detailed one in my scene here. I kind of like the white in between the little lines in the tree trunk. Now when you stamp your tree trunk, make sure you're down, you have the base of the tree trunk down in the bottom of your scene. I mean, down in the bottom in your grassy area. Want to make sure that you have the tree trunk down in the grassy area, so it's not like floating out there in space. So you want to ground it. And that was done with soft suede. And I think I have the soft suede out. Let's go ahead and stamp our sentiment on there. Just added that just a note in there. You also have plenty of space up at the top if you'd rather have it up the top. That just gives you a chance to get a little creative with your sentiment. You could do it top or bottom. There's plenty of space on this panel. And that was done with the soft suede also. Now we're going to start stamping our leaves for our tree. And I'm bringing in the solid leaves, so leafy parts of the tree, and I'm going to do this in Granny Apple Green. I wanted a lighter green in this scene, and you just line these up with your branches, and you want them touching the branches. There we go. So there is the tops. And now I'm going to do the detailed part. And I'm going to use Granny Apple Green for it. And this gives a good contrast between the two colors on there. And this you'll line up with the bottom of your Granny Apple Green ones. And then you have your two-toned leaves there. And you'll see more of a variance after they dry a little bit. That old olive seems very dark when you first stamp it. Just be aware of that. But it'll dry like 2 shades lighter. So there is our scene. Now I want some darkness around the edges, but I didn't want to use room for a panel behind it. So I'm just going to take a sponge and our soft suede ink here, and I'm just going to grunge the edges up to give me that darkness that I want around this panel, but not have to take up the room for another panel. So I'm just scraping that sponge against the side just to grunge it up. Super easy, no bulk in your finished card then. Just going all the way around. And this is best done with a sponge. I've tried it with a blending brush. It doesn't quite work, and I think it kind of smushes the hairs on your blending brushes, so I prefer a sponge for that technique. So there's our finished scene there. So now we're all ready to put this together. Except for, and let's get some color on, we have a Tahitian Tide panel here, and I want to put some color on it also before we put it together. So I'm going to bring in that Pacific point that we used earlier. I'm just going to take a blending brush, and I'm really going to just add some of this to the top of the panel. And I'm going to get pretty dark over here on the left side, because this is the side you're going to see the most when we put our card together. So there is that. And then I'm going to add some Old Olive to the bottom of this panel. I'm kind of mimicking our sky and grass on this a little bit, extending it to our panel for put on our card. So again, I want to be the darkest over here on the left side. Okay, so there is that. And now let's bring in our card base. This is a soft suede card base. It's 5.5 by 8.5. Then I folded it in half for our quarter card. Inside, I added just a basic white panel that's 4 by 5.25. And I'm going to adhere our Tahitian Tide panel on here. I'm going to bring in my multi-purpose glue, but you use whatever you are comfortable with in a way of adhesive. Just center that up on your front of your card. And then I'm going to bring in my main panel. I'm just going to glue it on also. This is a nice flat card. It's not going to cost you any more postage to mail. Sometimes with the note card, I don't like to put a whole lot of fluff on them. I just want a note card, you know what I mean? So there's that. And now just for a little bling, I'm just going to add a few of these brush metallic adhesive back dots. And I'm going to use the gold dots on this one, the smaller gold dots. And I just use the tip of my scissors to put these on. And I'm just going to add one to each corner. I use these metallic dots so much. They're so simple, and of course with the metallic you it goes with everything. I mean, you don't have to worry about them clashing. And there's 3 different ones. There's like bronze and a brush metal, and then the pure gold. Very useful. So there is my finished card, all done. We have our Smoky Mountains in the background, our sentiment. Here's my earlier one. And there they are. Thanks for joining me today. I hope this inspires you to get super inky. Get those inks out. Start stamping. Thanks for joining me. Bye.